Bismillah. This is a quick video about liver histology. So, macroscopic anatomy of the liver. So we know that the liver is a very big, large organ in the body, and we can basically look at it from this image. There is the right lobe, the left lobe. You can imagine this as number 8, and we'll come to that later on why I want you to imagine that. Doesn't really matter that much. Right lobe, left lobe again. There is your umbilical cord when you were a fetus, and it just shrank up to here, and that's the falciform ligament. You've got other triangle ligaments on the right, left, and the left on the right side and the left side. And there is this anterior aspect, of course, this is the posterior aspect, and of course this is where the gallbladder sits, and of course this is the area which is called the hilum. You have so many things entering, and you have your inferior vena cava, which goes behind the liver as well. Okay, you've got the bare area as well, and you've got your ligaments up to here as well. Okay, there is another thing to remember, which is the zones. These involve the surgeons more, but you can remember that you have your left lobe, which has the 2 and the 3, and your right lobe has the others. Okay, and if you want to remember them exactly, take your liver and put it on its posterior side. Look at it from the middle here. Okay, and you go up, down, 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 and up like that, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 1 is very important and 3 is very important. We'll come to that later. Just remember that for now. Okay, so that is for the macroscopic anatomy. So we've got what? We've got your dual blood supply. So the liver is supplied by the portal hepatic vein, which comes from all of the gastrointestinal tract and drains all of it into the liver to detoxify and spread out the nutrients. The portal or the hepatic artery is going to give the liver the oxygen, of course. The porta hepatis is where the vessels enter, and that's basically what this is. Okay, the porta hepatis. Okay, porta hepatis. Everything enters there. That's basically the hilum, if you want to call it that. I don't know if that's the correct terminology though. Venous drainage is via the right, middle, and left hepatic veins, and of course these go into the inferior vena cava. So this and there and also there. Okay, all of these veins come and go back to the heart, and your heart distributes your nutrients that are detoxified. All right, then you've got your bile flow. Your bile flow, of course, this comes from the inside of the liver and into this gallbladder. You've got your small, very small canaliculi, which are between the hepatic cells, you know, hepatocytes, which are the liver cells, and then the interlobular bile ducts, which are the actual ducts, but now they are very small, okay, between the lobes. And then we've got the right and left hepatic ducts. Of course, the larger ducts are there and before that. So large or lobular bile ducts, you know, the larger ducts. There are ductules and then ducts. Okay, that's where they are. I mistook in the beginning, I mistook saying something like that. Anyway, so right and left hepatic ducts, and then your common hepatic duct, which exits around here, and then it joins with the cystic duct, of course, making the common bile ducts. As we said, that's the common hepatic duct joining with the cystic duct, making the common bile duct, CBD, which is very important in gallstone diseases. Okay, And of course, that goes in conjunction with the pancreatic duct into the duodenum, into the ampulla of Vater, but that's not our topic here. Okay, so microscopic anatomy. For microscopic anatomy, we've got so many things. We've got the lobules, we've got the acini, we've got the hepatocytes, we need to talk about them. We've got the portal tracts, and then we've got the bile, okay? And lastly, we've got the sinusoids. All right, so how do we start with this? So the lobules are very easy. The lobules and acini, they are opposites. So lobules have the central hepatic vein as their center, okay? And then they've got the portal tract, okay, as their peripheries, okay? So they make this hexagonal shape, you know, the six-sided shape, okay? Hexa means six and gonal means sides, but it is really imaginary. I don't really see it very well with the liver. Maybe I'm immature with the histology, but that's basically what I can say. And then the opposite is the acini. So the acini is going to have this as its center, as you can see in here. You see this small, you know, this square shape, almost square diamond shape. In the middle of it, we've got the thing here. Okay, so the portal tract, and on its ends they've got it's got the central hepatic veins. Okay, so they are opposites, lobule, acinus. Okay, then we've got the hepatocytes. Hepatocytes are amazing cells which are you know, the bulk of this organ. So what do? They have so many things. What do they look like is what concerns us here. Okay, so as you can see in here, it's better to see. They are circular shaped, polygonal, almost like an oval shaped cell. With in its center you've got the nucleus, which can be circular, round, and it could be oval. And its chromatin is not like lymphocytes, you know, white blood cells. It's not really dense and dark and like that. It's more of a delicate chromatin, all right, because it needs it to do stuff, all right? So it needs it open. I think that's what explains it. And it got many nucleoli. Sometimes it's not just one nucleus, but many, all right? It's nucleolus, I meant, okay? Not just one, but many, probably. All right, so immunohistochemistry, it can have a positive CK8 and 18. That's why I told you the liver is, you can imagine it as a number 8. And that's, you know, CK8, CK18, if you want to remember that. Hep bar 1 is also a stain for it. And then we've got its negativity for CK7 and CK19. CK7 is important to distinguish cancers that could metastasize from the colon, because the colon is going to stain CK7 positive. But then we're going to have, you know, other things in the liver that have that same stain we're going to see. Again, delicate chromatin, multiple nucleoli, sometimes only one. Okay, like this one and this one. Okay, I'm not really sure, maybe this one has 2. It doesn't really change much of the story. The hepatocytes store glycogen. Here you don't really see it as much. Glycogen is a pale pigmented you know, glucose storage. Here you can see it as a good amount, as this person has fasted overnight and didn't eat anything, so his body has utilized this glycogen, but when he ate, then he had this accumulation of it. Sometimes you can see this organelle like this. This is of course the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and it's probably you know, does store that glycogen. I'm not really sure exactly, but it looks pale even though you might be fasted or not. So next to every nucleus you can see this pale area. This is really nice to know and really nice to observe, because it will be there in some other cells, all right? Something that is in children, young children, is vacuolated with glycogen nuclei. Okay, so instead of it being inside of the cells like this, okay, it becomes inside of the nucleus. All right, so inside of the nucleus membrane, I'd assume, and it becomes like a vacuole that gives you this signet ring shape, but it does not really mean anything. Sometimes when people have hepatitis or diseases in their liver, it can actually look like this, or if you're very old, I think it's related more to hepatitis, but I'm not certain. All right, so this is the portal hepatic central vein. Okay, I mean the central hepatic vein, and that's basically the center of your lobule. All right, and yes, that's a normal lobule. You can just imagine how the hexagonal shape will be. It's really difficult to imagine it, but these are the portal tracts. Okay, and then we've got the periportal zone A, I mean zone 1. As I mentioned, they are important to remember, but probably more related to surgeons. But it's really good to know that your zone 1 is the most vascularized zone, and you've got so many vessels, but this is the portal tract. It doesn't really matter to think about it too much, but the portal tract, of course, it has so many veins in there. All right, we'll continue later. All right, so continuing on, we talked about the hepatocytes. So after the hepatocytes, we have the portal tract, which we already discussed a little bit about. So the portal tracts are the things that are in the center of the acini and are the peripheries of the lobules. All right. So what do they have? They have ducts or ductules, okay, and another two things. Okay, so it's a triad. Okay, it's a triad. So duct, artery, vein. Easy. Okay. Portal branch vein is what feeds it. Okay. I'm wrong about that. What feeds it is this central hepatic vein. So probably what we can think about is we can look this up. Okay, so to make it easier for myself, I've looked this up. Blood comes in from here. Okay, so comes in blood from the artery and the vein, and bile goes out. Okay, bile goes out. I think this is the red, so this is the red, this is the blue, and then this goes out into the green. All right. The blood that is the supplier, again, we've talked about this in the anatomy. So the suppliers are these two. Okay, two of them are suppliers. The vein from the portal hepatic, portal vein. So this is a branch of it, and then the artery. All right, and this takes all the blood back into the hepatic veins, which are the drainage of the liver, right, left, and middle, into the inferior vena cava. All right, so let's get back to this here, the portal tract. So everything is a supplier. The bile ducts is a drainage of the production of the liver. Yeah, we've talked about these. So this is the center. Everything goes here from blood, and everything goes out here from bile. Easy. Glycogen, this is stained by the PAS stain, and it just shows the glycogen and the reticular collagenous fibers that are in the liver, because the liver has reticular collagen. It doesn't really matter, but that's the idea of this photo. What's really important in here is to distinguish between veins, which are collapsed vessels, okay, arteries, which are lined by endothelial cells. Okay, I'm not really sure if this is an artery, because only this cell can convince me that it is endothelial, but the others do not really convince me so much. Here, this convinces me that this is a bile duct, alright? And that's all I can say in here. So just to be sure, you can do stains to make sure which one is the bile duct and which one is the artery, alright? So other than that, in the portal tract around it you can find lymphocytes and mast cells. I think here you can see so many lymphocytes. Mast cells are not really easy to see for me, so I'm not sure, but they are basophilic if I understand correctly. Okay, next we've got the bile ducts. Bile ducts are the ducts that go out and take into the gallbladder what the liver makes. There are larger ones and there are smaller ones, so larger one and smaller one, and there are the ductules and there are the canaliculi. So larger ones, columnar. Smaller than that is going to be cuboidal, low columnar, and then smaller than that is going to be cuboidal, and then the canaliculi are just formed by specialized hepatocytes. That's basically what you can think about it. And the important part about the larger ducts is that it has a dense surrounding collagen. So you don't confuse it with the onion ring sign. When you go like this, there is the onion rings like that, and that is not what tells you that this is PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis. Okay, so primary sclerosing cholangitis, around this will be an onion ring sign because it's going to be sclerosed. Alright, however, this is normal because this is dense collagen, as we know from histology that it is going to surround the larger tall columnar ducts. Right, now a good ratio to remember is 10 to 8 or 8 to 10. So every artery, every hepatic artery should have an attendant hepatic bile duct. Bile duct. So if you don't have that ratio, if less arteries have bile ducts next to them, that could be a bile duct disease or a bile disease. Yeah, so biliary disease. Alright, so the CK7 and CK19 come here, and if you remember, they were negative before. So be aware that this is not metastasis from the colon in here. Okay, this is not gonna be metastasis from the colon. This is the bile duct, and its cells are going to be stained with CK7 and CK19. all right, other stains like the liver, it stains with the CK8 and 18. As I said, the 8 is the thingy like that because the liver looks like that, like an 8 but like an infinity. It's not too easy to remember, but for me it is. Ductules, cuboidal cells, we already established that. So we have here, these are ductules or small ducts. They are lined by cuboidal cells. Here we have a longitudinal section rather than a cross section where you see it like that. Where is it? These are arteries. Okay, these are probably veins or lymphatics. This is a vein. This is definitely a vein. Infinity, infinity, infinity. Okay, so I cannot see the bile duct here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the one, but I suppose these are arteries. interlobular bile duct loss. Okay, so that makes sense now. So this image is just saying here you've got so many arteries but no ducts, so that's loss, and that's probably person who has biliary disease. Alright, so canaliculi are made up by specialized cells, specialized hepatocytes, specialized liver cells. Basically, what happens here is you've got this specialization in here, and this can be stained with the CEA stain. It's a special stain for this, okay? And you can also stain them by CD10, these specialized hepatic cells. PAS can show you the basement membrane, can show you more of what the bile duct looks like. Anyway, again, bile duct, we talked about these. It has the onion ring sign, however it's not diseased, it doesn't have primary cholangitis, primary sclerosing cholangitis. You can see the basement membrane around this one, and this distinguishes it from something like an artery probably. But an artery, of course, we're going to look at the endothelial cells, which have an abundant cytoplasm to just line out this vessel, alright, as opposed to this one that has cuboidal columnar cells or whatever size it is, again, this is a big vein. Alright, these are probably bile ducts, this is bile ducts just connecting and going in to drain all of that. Going in to be drained into all of that, okay? Going back into, going to the gallbladder. Alright, sinusoids is a very important thing. Sinus is an empty space. Sinusoid is a near looking like an empty space. These are lined by endothelial cells, so endothelial cells make up these areas. So there is an endothelial cell, it stops, and there is another endothelial cell, it stops, and there is then a far gap, until another endothelial cell. Why is that? Because we want this blood to mix up in here and get all the exposure to the hepatocytes, so it increases the surface area. Alright, sinusoids, you have endothelial cells, and as you exit them you find yourself in front of a Kupffer cell, which is a macrophage that is the resident of the liver. Alright, and Kupffer cells take a lot of things. They take the hemosiderin, they take the copper, they take the minerals, everything they take, alright? They take the debris of anything and everything, and they take care of the liver to make sure that it does not get diseased. Okay, these are the spaces of this, and they are visible really only when you biopsy or you take an autopsy of a person. Doesn't really matter too much, but what matters more is stellate cells, and stellate cells are amazing cells that they store fat and vitamin A, probably other vitamins really, because they store fat, so they probably store the fatty soluble vitamins like vitamin K, vitamin E, and vitamin D. Alright, stellate cells. I think this one looks better because it has a nucleus, and then you've got it, yeah, vacuoles, fat. Inside of it you've got your vitamins and minerals, probably minerals, but I think just vitamins. In any case, Kupffer cells, here they are. You have iron, you have things that stain inside of them. This is a PAS stain, and it's showing that they have something inside of them. Could be hemosiderin, could be something else, but I think that it could be hemosiderin really. Ceroid pigment within Kupffer cells, so this is ceroid pigment, probably bile. I'm not gonna go into that one. Lipofuscin, alright. This is the important one, copper. Copper is important because of Wilson's disease, if I remember correct. Alright, so yes, Wilson's disease. Another thing I've looked up is lipofuscin and steroid pigment are some of the decomposition that happens. So lysosome decomposition and cells that die, so they produce this, and it's just composed of lipids, and also this one can be composed of lipids. In any case, they get engulfed by Kupffer cells and cleaned up by those cells. Hemosiderin and Prussian blue stain, iron, it stains for iron. Okay, it's called pearl Prussian blue stain. Okay, if you want to call it PPB stain, it's a really important stain when we're talking about hemochromatosis. All right, and there is my reference. Hopefully that was helpful. It was a little bit too long actually, but for me it is helpful.